And so the Highwayman is the most, I won't say the most complex character, because Bess is fairly complex in the way that she sacrifices herself in order to save her lover. But the way that Noyes presents the Highwayman is a deeper portrayal than either of either Tim or Bess. And I want to read some of what Noyes wrote about him, and then just talk about it. In the second stanza of Part 1, Noyes writes, "He had a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a cloak of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh. And he rode with a jewel twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle, his rapier hilt a twinkle, under the jeweled sky." Now, I said that these characters were rather stereotypical in some ways, but that has to do more with the theme and what we expect from that. The Highwayman is certainly not a very stereotypical thief or robber. He sounds more like a gentleman than he does a thug. This is not some guy who's hanging out in alleyways, knocking old women over the head. This is a man who is very immaculate in his appearance. He wears a nice velvet coat, he wears nice brown pants that never wrinkled, and this was in the days before permanent press. And he has boots up to the thigh. This is a man who cares about the image that he projects. He's a dandy. You could almost say that he's a fop, and that might not be a word with which you are familiar, but a fop is an effeminate man who cares about how he looks. The Highwayman is definitely not effeminate nor a fop, but he does wear nice clothes, which is intended to reflect something about his personality or his station in life. When I read this, I immediately think of Robin Hood. Now, Robin Hood robbed from the rich and gave to the poor. That's never said in this poem, that that's what the Highwayman is doing. And yet he is a very sympathetic character. He is portrayed as a brave character, and really a character to be admired rather than to be repelled by or to spit on. Who's he stealing from? We kind of assume that it is from King George himself and not King George the personage, because King George never came to the Americas, but from the representatives of King George. And it certainly is the Redcoats who came after him when Tim tips him off that he's going to be doing some robbing. Would the Highwayman have robbed from the colonist? I don't know. That's something that we really can't answer. But the fact that he is such a romantic, dashing figure tends to make us think, kindly of him, and we don't want to think that that's of whom he was taking advantage. So we see the characterization in the story just like we would see in any short story or any novel or any movie. So that has to, for the setting, it does it pretty much for the characterization and for the setting. The plot's pretty simple. We see the Highwayman says he's going to, go rob somebody and bring back the yellow gold. Tim the ostler, who also is portrayed by the way he looks, don't let me forget to mention that. In Part 1, stanza 4, Noyes writes about Tim. "Where Tim the ostler listened, his face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair like moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say." Now, Lorena McKenna left that stanza out of her song, and I would suppose it was for length reasons, but that's an important clue. Otherwise, how would we know why the Redcoats specifically came to the inn, tied up Bess, and were waiting for the Highwayman? And then that leads us back to the plot, because that is the plot, the action. Bess is tied up, and she is tied with a musket aimed at her chest, so that if she moves or she struggles, she would be shot. Now we could say, why didn't they just double knot? If the musket was not there, there would be no story. This story is about timeless unselfish love. It is about love transcending everything. This is Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde, Paramus and Thisbe, and any couple that you can think of from modern movies that would give everything for their partner. As a matter of fact, What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams, it's the same story. The character in that movie is willing to sacrifice everything, even his soul, in order to save the woman whom he loves. And that's who Bess is. Bess kills herself in order to warn the highwayman so he would ride away. And then when he finds out what's happened, he goes back, and then subsequently he is killed because of that. And that is what the theme of this story is. Undying love. Love that just covers everything. I know I've said that a couple of times, so you probably get it by now. So that is the theme. Now it has a conflict. The conflict is mostly between the Redcoats and Bess. It rises to a crisis. They tie her up, and she shoots herself. And we have another crisis. It's not quite over yet. The next crisis is the highwayman coming back to the scene of where his lover was killed, and then the resolution is that he is killed as well. Not much of a resolution, but that's what it is.